podcast where people reach their goals and develop confidence one mind shift habit at a time. Let's join our host, certified coach Christina.
This episode of Conversations with Coach is sponsored by Christina Calloway Life Coaching LLC. I am pleased to announce I will be releasing my first book about overcoming perfectionism this year. There will be information in the show notes where you can support my efforts. If this is your first time joining Conversations with Coach, welcome and Happy New Year. I am your host, Certified Mindset and Confidence Coach, Christina Calloway. I partner with athletes, parents, and coaches, and together we develop the tools to increase their confidence and achieve their goals both on and off the field of play. As I said, welcome to 2023. We made it. We are 3 days already into this new year, and I have a question for you. How many of you have made a declaration of this being your new year, new me? I see you. Now, let me ask you if you have a strong game plan for how to make 2023 become your new year, new me. The top 10 New Year's resolutions, starting with number 10, are read more. Number 9, travel more. Number 8, spend more time with family and friends. Number 7, quit smoking. Number 6, save more money, spend less money. Number 5, live life to the fullest. Number 4, learn a new skill or hobby. Number 3, get organized. Number 2, lose weight. And number 1, exercise more. Despite the best of intentions, once the glow of a fresh new year wears off, many people struggle to make good on their plans. And according to a study published in the Journal of Clinical Psychology, only 46% of people who make New Year's resolutions are successful. That means over half of the people who set a goal for the new year will fail. The study also involved non-resolvers, people who don't care anything about making resolutions, people who did not make a New Year's resolution, but maybe they had a goal they wanted to achieve that year. Well, it gets worse for them. Only 4% of non-resolvers were successful at achieving their goals, and that's a far bleaker result than those who did make a New Year's resolution. So this isn't about whether or not you make New Year's resolutions or you want to set goals. It's about how to become more successful. And naturally, we don't want to be in the camp of folks that fail to achieve their aspirations and their dreams for 2023. So what can we do? Well, it all starts with having the right mindset, and I would love to partner with you in that effort. And once you get the correct mindset, you now need to find someone who can help you develop a strategic plan to accomplish your goals. On this episode of Conversations with Coach, I have a returning guest who is going to help provide us with information on how we can accomplish the top 2 New Year's resolutions: losing weight and more exercise. Give you a little bit of background. I said he was a returning guest, and he is. He is a personal trainer and he's been a personal trainer and health coach for more than 10 years. And he has experience working with people of all backgrounds and abilities. I want you to put some love in the chat and help me to welcome back our resident coach, Coach Joe.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. What do you think about all those statistics that I was reading off in the top 10? I'm sure in your profession, you have heard it all and then some.
Yeah, I can raise my hand to about 11 of those myself.
That's exactly right. Because when I was doing my research for this episode, and I said, "No, I'm just curious. What do the top 10 resolutions change? You know how like when you're listening on the weekend, when if you're listening to the top 20
Yeah.
countdown, and people kind of shuffle around and that. I was like, I wonder if New Year's resolutions are like that. Do they shuffle around? To my surprise, they do, because for so long, the number one goal was to lose weight. And I'm happy to tell you that I'm excited that the number one goal is to exercise more, because the focus is now shifting to where it correctly needs to be. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I was just thinking that too. A lot of people, we focus a lot on the weight, the scale, and that's not necessarily the best thing, because even in that, you start creating a lot of different issues in your mind. You try and go through turning tricks and doing all kinds of things and overcomplicating all of these things in your life, thinking that when the scale starts moving,
Mm-hmm.
then life is just magically going to be better, or I'm going to be better. And that's not necessarily true. We have to
Mm-hmm.
focus on our health.
Right,
And health does not necessarily reflect what's going on the scale. And if you
right.
look at anything on social media, you look at Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of these things, and you see people and they're ripped and shredded. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times they're miserable. There are a lot of people that are just miserable. They go through all kinds of changes. They're
Mm-hmm.
huffing pre workout, they're skipping meals, they're counting
Mm-hmm.
every grain of rice, eating dry broccoli, rice, and chicken. And
They
all of
are
these,
that's miserable. I'm just telling you, just listening to you rattle that off. I'm thinking, how on earth, what kind of quality of life is that for anybody to try to look like that? And to your point about social media and the ads, it all started right after Thanksgiving. I noticed.
exactly.
My feed was being inundated about the latest and greatest meal plan, the latest and greatest. I can get you looking like this with just one sip of air. I mean, it's just, of course, I'm exaggerating, but that's what I
Yeah.
felt like. And as we got closer and closer to the new year, it was like even worse. And I bet you can tell us some stories about how working in a gym, how you can go and see, because if things kind of dip off toward the holidays, people kind of pull back a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know we'll catch back up, because the last time you were here, you were doing a 10-week challenge, 10 weeks out from the new year. So I definitely want you to talk about that. But talk to us about what kind of shift the gym sees starting now.
Well, we're in a college town here in Athens, and the students leave, people go on vacation, they're traveling to visit family, and for me, it starts right after Halloween. Really, everybody
Really?
starts thinking about the fact that Thanksgiving is coming around, and then Christmas
Mm-hmm.
and the New Year, and so
Mm-hmm.
people start disappearing. The students start preparing for finals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fortunately, since I've been doing this for so long, I really don't have a whole lot of students. And so my numbers don't really dip too drastically, thank goodness. Because if especially now with this cold front and the cost of eggs, I could use that
Woo!
steady income. Um,
Yes,
and
you
so I'm
definitely.
fortunate in that regard. But right about now, the gym is just about empty.
Really?
See this trend where it happens around December, where the gym, and again, because I'm in a college town, the gym just about empties out. But
Mm-hmm.
then come the beginning of the month, around, let me say, the second week of January, when students come back, everybody and their mama literally will be in the gym. So you'll have all those students back. You'll have new people coming in the gym. You'll have a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of visitors. And so it would just be ridiculously crazy in there. And it would just
Wow.
be just, it would be a theme park going on in the
Yeah.
gym. And then come spring break, you'll see the numbers dip again. And we just go
Mm-hmm.
through this roller coaster cycle just like this every year.
So, what have been? I know you said for you, and thankfully it's not this way because you have been doing it for so long now. But what are some of the reasons that people have shared with you that they, hey, I'm going to take a break with exercise, and I'll holler back at you at the first of the year. What have been some of their reasons?
Right. And again, this is stuff that I finally got myself to the point where I'm prepared for it and I try to attack it and address it before it gets to that. But like I said, usually around the end of October, the beginning of November, people start talking about, well, the holidays are coming up. I got all these parties and all these functions, going to see
Mhm,
family, this, that, and the
mhm,
other. And I'm like, hey, that's cool and all. And I don't have a lot of that going on in my own life, but I can understand it and I can empathize with that.
Yeah.
But people get so caught up in the holidays,
Hmm.
these 2, 3 days out of the last 2 months of the year that they upend their lives completely.
Wow.
This folks start talking about, yeah, I end up gaining all this weight. It's like this has only been 2 months. You have 2 days, let's say 3 days. You got Thanksgiving, you got
Hmm.
Christmas, and you got New
Hmm.
Year's Eve. And so
Hmm.
you mean to tell me out of those 30 some days that you're going to gain 10, 20 pounds? That's
No.
only 3 meals. You can eat whatever you want. Eat all the red velvet cake, eat all the mac and cheese, eat all
Yeah.
the dressing and the pies and all that. Whatever you want. Those 3 days, that's not going to cause you to gain weight. Then
Yeah.
there is the functions. Well, I've got to go to this function.
Hmm.
I've got to go shopping. And you
Hmm.
know when we go around and people are shopping and the hustle and bustle, and it's a madhouse, and we've completely gotten as a culture, as a
Hmm.
country, and really it's around the world, excuse me, we've gotten lost in the fact that there are these holidays and we've got to do things. I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And we lose track, and your mental health suffers, your physical health suffers. And it's like, oh, I'll
Mm.
get back on it at the first of the year. And it's the same
Mm.
thing when people say, I'm going to start in January.
Yeah.
Or I'm
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
start on Monday. It's like, hey, it's Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Let's start now.
Now, I
There's
love it.
magical about that date or that day on the calendar. You need to start now. And if the holidays are causing you to be just so overwhelmed, just think about
Right.
that. You're doing this for your health, and you're up
Yes.
your health for what's supposed to be joyous, restful, relaxing, and
Yes.
rejuvenating time with family, friends.
Right.
You're causing it to tear everything down.
Right. So you mentioned about, just getting started, not waiting for a date on the calendar, getting started. And that takes me back to the last time that you were here
Mhm.
on Conversations with Coach. You were kicking off the 10-week challenge, and it all stemmed around creating habits, just getting started and creating habits. Tell us how that went and what you learned from, because I know the last time you were here, you was like, this is my first time doing it. So yeah, how did that go?
Well, everything, and we'll talk about this a little bit in the future, but it was a challenge. It was definitely a challenge.
The
I
challenge is
had
a challenge.
sure I opened up a Facebook group, and I just invited whomever to join the Facebook group. And in that group, I just shared a lot of things, a lot of motivation, some tips,
Hmm.
some information about nutrition, about working
Hmm.
out, and I tried to do just a daily motivational nugget every morning when I
Right.
got up. And
Yes.
usually I'm up around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, so that's the first
Hmm.
thing I was doing. So that was my
Hmm.
habit. And like anybody, there were some days I faltered,
Yeah.
but it was on my mind. And when I did, because I had committed myself to this day,
Right.
when it did, I immediately got back on it.
Yeah.
And then in that group, I had some people sign up for the actual challenge. Now that was, I know it was a challenge for them. It was a challenge for me, and it's still, getting back on top of those people and seeing where they are is
Mhm.
also a bit of a challenge. But this is how we do things, and this is how we grow and we learn. Like you said, this is my first time doing this, but started out trying to attack and address each week at the end of the week. And so for the following, so week 2, I started out on
Mhm.
week 1. This is what you need to be doing for week 1. At the end of week 1, this is what we need to be doing for week 2. Just trying
Yeah.
to build on things. And I explained to the people that signed up, hey, this is low level stuff. It's nothing
Mhm.
fancy. It's not rocket science. It's as simple as, hey, let's start looking at what you're eating,
Yeah.
write that down, and be aware. And let's build on that. And it, honestly, very difficult to get people to commit, even signing
Wow.
up like that, to give me feedback. It's like
Mm.
signed up for the challenge, and the challenge was I'm going to make myself accountable to you to help,
Mhm.
and I'm going to extend myself. This is what I do. I'm going to extend myself to you to help you to develop these habits. And honestly, probably about 25% of the people that signed up for the challenge actually gave me feedback and communicated with me. And the
That's
numbers,
actually a pretty good number when it comes
well,
to doing things related to your health because,
but that's where it started. At the
oh,
end, I was probably at like one or two people, and it was a struggle to get them to continue to communicate with me. And
mhm,
again, it wasn't that, hey, you got to do these grandiose things. I just want to check in with you to see
yes,
to be a reminder and encourager. And it's very difficult for people to get out of their routine and the hustle
yeah,
and bustle and to stay committed and accountable. So
yeah,
it was a learning
absolutely.
experience for me.
Well, I, for one, am glad that you did it. You got a lot of takeaways from it, and I
So,
can see it being successful moving forward, especially this at the beginning of the year when everybody's super focused on it. Because some
certainly.
people just need somewhere to get started, and it is a great challenge to help you to get started, as you said, in small increments. Now, you and I both are fans of Stephen Covey. I love his his book series. Everything that he does, it aligns with my thought process.
Sure.
And he a very well known one of his books, the 7 habits or effective for effective
Highly
people,
effective people. Yeah.
highly effective people.
Highly effective.
And you and I both know that one of those habits is just the setup, like just the whole mindset. Talk to us about habits and
Right.
this one specifically and how it's applicable to New Year's resolutions.
Right. So those 7 habits, his first habit, we're skipping that first habit because the first habit is to be proactive. And we all know that you've got to get ahead of stuff. You got to be thinking about,
Yeah.
you got to get on top of things. You can't let something just run amok and then think that you're going to be successful with something that's
Right.
all out of whack. You've got to reel
Hmm.
some things in. And so when I address people, when I deal with clients and I start talking to people about what can be helpful to them and how they can be successful, I think we need to start with habit number 2 of his 7 habits. And that is to be, I'm sorry, number 1 is be proactive, but number 2 is to begin with the end in mind. And so you've
Ah.
got to have an end place. What are you trying to accomplish
Hmm.
in order to get started? Because, you taking a road trip, you're not just going to jump in your car and just go and think you're going to get somewhere. I mean, you will get somewhere, but
You'll
you'll
get
get
somewhere, but not where you might want to be.
not what you want to do. It's a
Yeah.
dead end road with your name on it.
Exactly. That's exactly right. You make up a good point of starting with the end in mind because that is so true with anything that you do. Anything. If you're thinking about starting a business and you write a business plan, the very first thing they ask you to do is write the executive summary. That just is like you say, it is the setup. It is helping you to understand pretty much. It provides you the roadmap to success.
Certainly. Yep. Yeah. Because if you don't know where you're going, you don't know how you're going to get there. And
Mhm.
a lot of times people forget about it. Well, they know that and they see that end in mind. I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to gain 10 pounds of muscle, or I want to be ripped and shredded, or I want to, run a marathon. And that's fine. So you have that end in mind, but then we make that so big that we get overwhelmed. And so that is definitely the first thing that you need to do is what is your setup? Set yourself up looking at the big picture. What
Mhm.
is this thing that I'm trying to accomplish? And how
Mhm.
can I establish myself?
Mhm.
And when we talk about doing things, especially when it's talking about your health and your wellness and your just overall well-being,
Mhm.
you've got to have an understanding. Okay, I've been diagnosed with diabetes, or I've got
Mhm.
hypertension or high
Right.
cholesterol, and
Mhm.
so my goal is to get off of this medication. I need my
Right.
numbers to come back down.
Mhm.
I need to be having. I need to have a better quality of life, and so
Mhm.
that is your end, and you've got to have that in mind. And then that's a lot of times that is the setup. But then a lot of times we get lost in that because everything is so confusing. And like you said earlier, you start getting pumped with all these ads for things. Take this medication, eat this particular food. You need to go see this doctor. You got to walk on the treadmill for a half an hour. You got to do 45 minutes on a stair climber and kick your leg back like this. You got to do this. You got to eat broccoli, rice, and bland chicken. And so we get overwhelmed, and that's where people get sidetracked because there's just so much information.
It's information overload, and
Information.
it starts making you feel like you're defeated before you can even get started, because it's just like, how can I wrap my mind? I just want to get started with something. And so to that point of developing habits, one of the main things that, and I read this in research and I know it to be true for myself, it is the resistance to just get going. Like, that is so hard.
Exactly. There's another author, speaker, and you're probably familiar with him as well. And of course, his name just slipped my mind. But one of his, Stephen Covey. He said that the hardest part of every important task is getting started. Yep, getting started in the first place. And once you actually begin work on that valuable task, then you can seem to naturally just get motivated to continue going. And that's where a lot of people get lost. They see the big picture, but then they become so overwhelmed because it's so large and there's so much information, then they don't get started. And my 10 weeks challenge was to get people started 10 weeks ago, so that now that January is here, they weren't just coming in when you got all of these people.
Like cold turkey. Yeah.
And now it's overwhelming. But to get started then with the small things that you can control and make that a part of who you are. Once you get that, you will be motivated to continue doing those things, and you can continue to build on that. And that's what we go into now. You're going to have some resistance once you get started on these things. You've got a big picture, but now you've got challenges on how to continue going. And I think one of the times that I came and talked with you, we talked about resistance. The fact that resistance is always present. Resistance will hold a gun to your head like a stick-up man, or it will tell you that you're not worthy of anything, and it will tell you all kinds of things to get you to stop doing what it is that you have set out to do. And resistance is always going to be there. However, that resistance is not necessarily a bad thing, because resistance, if you're a strong person, it helps you to become stronger. If you think about the things in your own life, or just things that you're set out to do, if it was easy, or like the quote says, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
And you can't set yourself apart from that.
No, and to your point, like you were saying, for you too, during the challenge, that there were times where you fell off, because the reality is life is going to life for all of us. It just happens. And I'll just use myself personal as an example. Depending on, if I just, and equate it to like driving on the road, if I just veer off the side of the road where I can just feel the ridges that's telling me, okay, you're off to the side, I can get that type of lifing, I don't have a problem with. It is the lifing where you end up in the ditch for a couple of days. Like maybe you're not feeling well, like you mentioned, the weather, the storm that we just came through. Trying to figure out, do I have a cold? Do I have COVID? Do I have the flu? Like which one of these things do I have? Do I have all three? But when life throws you into that ditch, I know for me personally, it is so difficult, so extremely difficult to get back up and to get over the resistance. So I would like for you, the resistance of restarting, you know what I'm saying? And I know all the tools. I know as a mindset coach that's me judging myself, telling myself that, why bother, all of those negative things. But I would like for you to share with the audience just some practical ways, 1 or 2 or 3 steps on just getting started to getting over the resistance.
Sure. So whenever there's resistance, you have to just take those things. You have to back up a lot of times. And so when you talk about getting in a ditch, a lot of times, if you're in the ditch, going forward is not going to help you. Sometimes you have to get back up out where you left the road in order to get out of the ditch. And so a tow truck, a lot of times the tow truck may come, they may be able to pull you forward, but sometimes the tow truck has to come behind you and drag you out, and you have to start back over from where you veered off the road. And a lot of times for us, again, we have this big picture. Oh man, I said I was going to lose 10 pounds by March, and I've lost 1 pound, but now I've gained back 2.
Mm,
Okay. So what were you doing when you lost that 1 pound?
right.
So don't just keep trying to add on to what it is. Let's back up for a moment. What was I
Absolutely.
what were those habits that I had that caused me to lose that 1 pound, or to be to have the habits to be able to get up every morning and do the things, and I was feeling good and I was motivated and I was doing these things and I was like, yeah, I can do this. And then you got
Mm,
sidetracked. Okay, let's back
mm,
up, go back to what we were doing before, and then
mhm.
get back on the road and keep doing that. And then really that is the major thing. And
Yeah,
because again, it does not have to be complicated. It is
right.
always the small, simple things that will propel you forward and allow you to overcome what is trying to drag you off to the side.
Mhm. That's good because as you were talking, it reminded me of the work that I do with my clients, and majority of my clients are battling perfectionism. They come to me calling it a mental block, but by definition, after you peel the onion, pull those layers off, it gets down to the fact of just them struggling with perfectionism, them struggling with the fear of failure. Maybe
Mhm.
there's been some negative consequences attached to it. And so when you were mentioning about sometimes we're looking at things from the big picture and it becomes overwhelming, and people might set goals such as I want to lose X number of pounds. That in
Mhm.
and of itself is not negative. However, when I'm working with my athletes and we start working on goal setting, because that's one of the things that you do to help you to overcome
Mhm.
perfectionism. And they start listing that they want to get a certain score in their competition, or they want to make so many baskets, or whatever their sport is.
Sure.
I immediately challenge that thought by asking them, is that something you can control? Because 9 times out of 10, if you're in a very subjective type of sport, you're not doing it by yourself. There's somebody, either an opponent coming against you to
Absolutely.
prevent you from getting that score,
Sure.
or you're being judged by judges and they're critiquing it. So it's very subjective. So what to your point, help them to look at what are the small incremental steps that you can take that added up might get that result. And that's something you can control.
Sure.
So that's in essence like making it work. Let's talk about making it work from the perspective of it's the first of the year. I have this goal. I want to exercise more. I might even have a goal if I want to lose weight. I'm resistant to it. I still want to make this work for me. I don't want to be a part of that statistic that Coach Christina read, being 46% of the people who fail at this. Like, I want to be a part of that success.
Certainly.
What would you tell them?
So in order to make it work, I I'm a big cartoon watcher. I'm a cartoon watcher, serial eater. I still have trying to hold on to things in my childhood. Those are things that made me happy. And so cartoons are an escape for me. And I love anime. And there are probably some people, maybe, I don't know, who are familiar with a particular cartoon. It's called Avatar: The Last Airbender, not to be confused with Avatar the movie. And
Yeah.
so this is a lot of anime is based off of Eastern culture, about Asian culture, and the martial arts. And so the
Mm,
Avatar in this particular culture was able to control all the elements. And so there were different tribes, and they were each able to master. They were able to bend different elements.
mhm.
So there was an earth a air
Yeah.
bender, a fire bender, and a water bender. But the
Gotcha.
Avatar had mastered all 4 elements. And so this was like the guru or the god
Yeah.
or what have you. And
Yeah.
so there's a book called The 5 Elements of Effective Thinking.
Ah,
And in
I have to
that
write that
book,
down.
it taught me, I'll share it with you. In that book,
Okay.
there are 5 elements, and they are those elements: fire, earth, air, and water. And there's a 5th element that I'll get to in a second. But
Uh-huh.
each one of these relates to an effective thought process. And so, how do we
Mm,
make it work? We have to look at these things and how do we, and when I'm working with my clients, even on just a particular exercise, I always start out with earth. And earth is just a matter of grounding your thinking. You
yeah.
have to be grounded. And what does that mean for us? We have to understand simple things deeply. So, for example, you have rocket scientists. I was watching a football game the other day, And the quarterback, he actually has a degree in rocket science. Go
Cool.
figure.
That
Yeah,
is
but
amazing.
that is amazing. Um, the dumb jock scenario.
It
But
does. There you
so
go.
we know when we start talking about these complicated things, rocket science, and it's like this is such a complex notion, and we've got all these things going around and got to work, and most people would never understand rocket science. But
Mm-hmm.
in order to become a rocket scientist, you still have to start out with arithmetic. You've got to understand that 1 + 1 = 2. And then
Yep.
you move from arithmetic to algebra. Now you're
Right.
adding an x and a y. 1x + 2y = whatever. But if you
Right.
don't understand 1 + 1 = 2, you're
Correct.
trying to add x's and y's, and then you're all the way over here in calculus and trying to understand.
Yeah.
You're trying to memorize formulas and things, but you don't understand. It's the basics that you plug and you add on to the basics. And so, with anything, one, you got to get grounded in where you are and what it
Mm-hmm.
is that you want to accomplish and why you're doing these things.
Right.
Most often, it's not the weight that people are looking at, but it's their
Right.
health.
Health.
Why do
Yep.
you want to lose weight?
The
Why
effects
do
of the
you
weight.
want?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why do you want to run? Why do you want to lift weights? It's not necessarily. Of course, the rocket science is I want to be lean. Rocket science is I want to get up on stage in a bikini and do a show. The rocket science is I want to have big pecs, biceps, and quads and be able to look good naked. That's the rocket science. But it's the arithmetic of my health and my
Mm-hmm.
fitness have to come first. And beyond all of those things, because you can get lost in the rocket science and
Yeah.
thinking, okay, I've got 10 weeks or 12 weeks to get up on stage. But what is the grounding? You have to understand deeply that, hey, my health, and if I eat well, then my
Yeah.
body will tell me how I should look.
Right.
So it starts with those basic things of health. And so that's the first thing.
Nice.
The second thing is fire. And so we ignite insights from failure, or we just learn from mistakes. And that's with everything. With my 10-week challenge, I learned a lot from the mistakes of that 10-week challenge. And it's
Oh,
just like
that's
fire.
good.
Fire will consume a lot of things, but it's
Right.
also an ignite, it's a spark. And
Mm-hmm.
fire is alive and fire is always changing. And so we
Mm-hmm.
learn from those mistakes, and we have to ignite a fire in ourselves to learn from those things that are going on. So after
Yeah.
you rooted yourself and grounded yourself, and you begin to understand 1 + 1 = 2, now when
Mm-hmm.
you start adding X and Y, you begin to see, okay, maybe this is not where this thing goes. Let me go back to understanding deeply what I started with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to add protein to my meals. I'm trying to add pre-workout to my meals. I'm trying to add creatine. I'm trying to do all these supplements. Well, hey, wait a minute. Do you
Right.
really even need to get some protein? Why are you
Right.
the protein powder? Is it because you're not eating enough protein? Yes, then add the protein powder. Do you get enough protein? Yes, then you don't need the protein powder. And so
Yes.
you're doing these things and you're making mistakes and you're learning as you go along. So you've got to learn from your mistakes as you go along. But first, you got to be grounded. The second,
Mm-hmm.
third one, I'm sorry, is air. And so you create insights from thin air. And so you know how you can be in your car and just driving along, and it's like, wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
could be a
Yeah.
bird flying past your windshield and be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute, I get it now. Whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is, or something. Oh my God, I never thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Get insights from everyday living,
Mm-hmm.
and then we start to ask challenging questions based upon those insights. Why didn't I, what is it that I'm really trying to do and accomplish? Or if I'm doing this and I'm trying to add all these supplements to my meals and my diet,
Mm-hmm.
why is that? Where did I
Right.
learn this from?
Like
Who is
coaching
this
yourself.
benefit? Yeah, who is this
Mm-hmm.
benefit? Is this really benefiting me? Or
Mm-hmm.
am I being sold all these ads and things on Instagram and Facebook, or every time I open up Amazon, things that somebody is
Mm-hmm.
trying to sell me? Well, very much so. Yes, they're in the market to sell you things so
That's their
they can make
job.
money. Yeah. And is that what you really need? And so we
Yeah.
have to ask challenging questions of ourselves and our own habits and our own surroundings in
Mm-hmm.
order to move forward. And so We have earth, we have to ground ourselves. We have fire, we have to learn from our mistakes. And then we have air, we have to ask challenging questions or get insights from thin air. The
Yeah.
fourth element is water. And so we have to tap into the flow of ideas. There are ideas all around. And
Yep.
we have to look again forward and backwards. And so there's a flow of how ideas work. And again, with the math and the rocket science, 1 + 1 = 2, 1x plus 1x equals 2x. And then you get
Hmm.
to the rocket science. And then you get confused with now there's a y and a z in here. Okay, wait a minute. Let me back up. 1 + 1 = 2, 1x plus 1x equals 2x. Now I've got a y in here. Maybe the y doesn't belong, or maybe it does belong. And so we kind of move, and things really do work on a continuum. And
It
it's with
does.
our life and our own health. You
Hmm.
find yourself in a situation where, hey, maybe your blood work is coming back, and your doctor is saying, yeah, I think maybe you should lose a few pounds. Maybe you should start exercising. Maybe you should drink a little bit more water. And you think, okay, yeah, when I was drinking water, I felt better.
Yeah.
Skin was clearer.
Yep.
I got better sleep.
Mm.
I thought clearer when I got better sleep. When I
Hmm.
ate better, when I wasn't eating a whole box of cereal on the weekend,
Hmm.
I felt better. My body responded better. I was able to think clearer. Everything was going. So we go back and forth with the flow of ideas and how does that integrate into our life? And
Yeah.
so those four elements, earth, being grounded, understanding something deeply,
Hmm.
fire, igniting insights from our failure and experiences, air,
Hmm.
creating insights from thin air, asking challenging questions, water, tapping into the flow of ideas, looking both forward and backwards. Those create a whole picture for yourself. And it's really about what do you know? You're the expert in your own life, in your own existence.
Absolutely.
I can't tell you that soda is going to do certain things for you, but you know when you drink soda, you know how you feel after. You know
Correct.
how you feel when you had too much salt in your food. Yeah, it
Hmm.
tastes better for a while, but then now you're wondering, well, why is my heart rate up? You're
Right.
the expert in your own life. And
That's
so
good.
you have to bring those elements together for yourself. And so how do you make it work? You
Hmm.
are the expert.
Yeah.
I come in, I have an expertise in an idea or a philosophy or
Mhm.
an area of work, but I work with you as a person because you are the expert and you have the answers already. My job is to help you to understand where you fit into this ideology or this
Hmm.
mechanism or this thing that we're trying to do, whatever it is, whether it's exercise, whether it's health, or whether it's working in a factory. I'm here to help you to do these things,
Hmm.
my expertise, but you have to be the expert in your life. And that fifth
Absolutely.
element from this book of effective thinking is change. When you bring these four things together,
Yeah.
you are able to transform yourself and you have to
Yes.
engage the change. And that's really what it's all about. You can't be the same person that you were when you were in high school or middle school
Hmm.
or even in college when you're 40, 50 years old.
Yeah.
You are
Right.
constantly changing. People will say
Yep.
money doesn't change me. Yo, no, money should not necessarily change you, but it changes your circumstances.
It
And then
does.
you need to understand different things. And so
Hmm.
now you're changing not because you have more access, not because you have more money, but you have access to other experiences. And so
Hmm.
with this, you have access to new experiences when you develop habits and you continue to work on those habits and you begin to change and you have to engage that change. Where is this
Right.
change? Not just to lose weight, but to be a healthier person and a more
There you
well-rounded
go.
person and a better person. For
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Like I said in the beginning, when I was reading off the top 10, I'm really excited to see that mindset shift when it comes to setting resolutions, setting goals, health goals, that exercise has leaped over the losing weight, because you and I both know that when the exercise becomes the habit, then the losing weight is going to be a byproduct of it. And I think shifting that focus for people is very helpful. It'll get them To me, when it comes to looking at those resolutions, I feel like I could be more successful at exercising than losing weight, because exercising is completely in my control. I either say I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it. But exercise for me is going to look different than you or than another person or anybody else watching. And that's okay. We can all just start where we are and go from there. What I want to ask you, there may be someone in the audience who is like, okay, Coach Joe, I gotcha. I understand how things start with, the habit of just my whole setup, like setting myself up for success, having that plan going in there. And then I understand about overcoming the resistance of everything. I understand about all the habits to make it work, but I'm intimidated when I walk into a gym. I don't know where to start. And since COVID, I have more equipment at home than they probably do in the gym. I just really don't know where to start. What's your response?
My response is always just to get started. There are things, and this kind of goes back to the elements of effective thinking. So ground your thinking, understand things deeply. Think about when you were younger, you were a child. You ran, you played, your back didn't hurt, elbows didn't hurt, all that kind of stuff. You didn't know what a back was, except that, it might have itched every once in a while. Um, your knees were something that you crawled around on, not something
That's right.
that.
That's
So,
funny.
those basic things, when you were a child, you ran, you
Yeah.
played, you jumped, you did all of those things, and your body was happy.
Yeah.
And I know we have extenuating circumstances right now. You and I both are sitting. Um,
Yeah.
our legs are probably at about 90-degree angles. We get up from here, and if you're like me, played sports, knees snap, crackle, and pop. You got to do a little bit of playing a little twister before you can actually stand and get up out the chair. You know, um, you got to do some mental gymnastics before you even think about getting up out the chair. But and that comes with age. It doesn't necessarily have to.
No,
Um,
you're right.
but when we were younger, we just moved. It
Yeah.
was a matter of running around. You see small children, or you see just younger kids, and they're active. They have their ball of energy, and they run, they
Mm-hmm.
jump, they twist, they play. And sometimes we just have to make it that simple. Our
Yeah.
bodies were designed to move. And so we're
Mm-hmm.
just starting out by moving your body. The easiest and simplest thing anyone can do is go for a walk.
I was just going to say that you took the words right out of my mouth. We could all just go for a walk. Let's say
Mhm.
we've got someone listening and they're like, I don't think I can do this. I want to go inside of the gym. I'm super intimidated. Every time I walk into the gym, I see all of that equipment and I just don't even know where to start when I get there. And I don't think that I can.
Sure. Um, in the words of Sherman Klump from the Nutty Professor, the Eddie Murphy version, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Or Barack Obama from his presidential campaign, yes, you can. You absolutely can. And I say that because it definitely is intimidating. I remember when I first going to work out, a friend of mine took me to the gym. I was about 40, 38. I hadn't been in a commercial gym in forever, and I was overwhelmed. But one of the things that I found then and I find now, people will engage you and they're open and willing to help. Um,
Mm.
as busy as it can be, as intimidating as it can be, as much as you got meatheads clanging stuff around and grunting and
It's
spitting,
loud. It is loud.
yeah, and in the freeway area, I guarantee you, if you go over there and you engage with someone, they will be more than happy to help you. Now, you might get all kinds of information, but people will be helpful. And I
You
know
mentioned
that.
something,
Mhm.
Joe, about the free weight area of the gym. And I know the gym that you and I that you work at, it has this perimeter around, and that free weight is kind of tucked off to the side. And you and I both have made observations of individuals who just kind of walk by and look over like it's this secret society club, like you have to be, what is it, initiated to come into the free weights. And sometimes the misnomer, especially for some women, well, I don't want to get bulky. I don't want to bulk up. I don't want to go do that. Or I just don't feel like I belong in that space.
Yes.
What would you tell? Is it necessary that they go into the free weights, or can they accomplish the same thing with machines?
Yes and no. And I say that because in the freeway area, you have those dumbbells and you have those barbells that allow you to do other things that machines will not allow you to do.
Gotcha.
Now, those machines will help you to accomplish a lot, but they're limited. And remember what I just said about when you were a child or when you were younger, you moved your body, running, jumping, and just exercising and moving around. If you think about workout equipment and machines, they're designed to isolate very specific points of your body.
Good.
You can do a chest press on a machine where you're, again, seated, very stationary, and you're just pumping and you're just moving your arm. And it's just going to work one small part of your body.
Right.
Nothing else is being engaged. I mean, you put some heavier weight on there, you got to tighten up a little bit and you get a little bit more out of breath.
Yeah.
But do that same exercise and you've got a set of dumbbells and you're on your back and you're holding these dumbbells in the air, it's a whole nother experience. Now your body's really working very differently. Or you get a bar and you put that bar on your back or your shoulders and you're squatting versus leaning up against a machine that's moving up and down and you just add some weight on. So it is very different, and you can accomplish a great deal with the machinery, but you can accomplish so much more with the free weights or the body, even if it, and I've recommended to a lot of ladies that they do more than 5 pound weights.
Yeah.
You can accomplish a lot with those 5 pound weights, but you're a lot stronger than you give yourself credit.
We are
a lot stronger. And matter of fact, it has been clinically, medically, researchically proven.
Is that a new word?
It has been proven that women recover faster from exercise than men do. And so
really,
it has been proven. There
did
are
not know that. I'm going to tell you
done.
right now. Sometimes my body is like, you just did too much in there. Yeah. I can't even. I got to use the bathroom. Just the thought of squatting to use the bathroom is torturous right now.
Yeah. But I mean, if you think about a woman's body, how many men do you know that really? Well, I was going to say, well, giving birth, childbirth, carrying a child, even that. But even something simpler than that. Men catch a cold, we are done for. We are in the crib, under the baby blanket with the slats up, and we don't want to move. But women will trudge through things. You have a much higher pain tolerance than we do. And it has definitely been proven that you handle discomfort a lot better than men, even if it's just societal.
Yeah.
But women do recover a lot better, and you're stronger. Your bodies are stronger than you give yourself credit for.
Yeah.
And lifting those weights, again, a lot of things are marketed to us. We look at magazines, well, used to be magazines, now it's Instagram and it's social media. It shows these women that are bodybuilders, and this is where we get a lot of misinformation in these fitness facilities. People have adopted bodybuilding culture and thinking that is what we all are supposed to do. Bodybuilding is a sport.
So different. Yeah. It's a sport.
I do not go out trying to do, give me a gymnastics turn, something on the floor exercise, double back, somersault, whatever. I don't do that because that's a sport. I'm not going around acting like I'm Venus and Serena and just doing random backhands or trying to. Those are sport things, and they do things to enhance their sport. Bodybuilding is a sport. Now you want to look like that, but most people really what they want is to look like an athlete.
That's it.
Most athletes, they run, they jump, they can move well. You look at a LeBron James or Steph Curry or even a Brittany Griner, jumping, moving in different angles. They've got great ankles and knees to be
Mm-hmm.
jumping sideways and then running forward at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But you try to get a bodybuilder to do that, and
Right.
something is going to tear. Something's going to
Right.
be torn up. Something is going to be really wrong. And so
Yeah.
we train ourselves to be stationary and just trying to make our muscles big, but that's not necessarily what we need to be doing. And so
That's
for
good.
women, lifting weights accentuates what you already have. If you have curves on your body, you work on those body parts and they will curve even more.
Mhm.
And so it's you're able to get strong. I lift a lot. I go in
Mhm.
and I lift a lot, and I can lift an awful lot. But I don't look like a bodybuilder. Now there are guys in there that are friends of mine that are bodybuilders, and some of
Mm.
them can lift way more than I can, but some of them can't. And they look a certain way because that's what they work for and they train for to get up on stage. And there are women
Right.
that come in and do the same thing. And then you have supplementation that not
Yes. Oh my
everyone
goodness.
takes, but a lot of people do take, and
Yeah.
that enhances those things in your body.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not, creatine is not a steroid. It's not going to do anything magical for your body. Protein, whey powder is not a steroid. It's not going to do anything magical for your body. These
Hmm.
things are just nutritional or dietary supplements. They're not sports enhancing, performance enhancing drugs. And so we
Right.
have to understand there's a difference there too. And so for
Yeah.
women, don't be afraid of your strength. Our bodies work better the more we work them.
Hmm.
The more we work them and you recover, and that's the other part, you've got to learn how to rest and allow your body.
Yes. That resting is important in anything, not just in exercise. I think learning how to rest and relax that should be the number one resolution right there, because
Yeah, exactly.
we definitely that goes into the category of needs improvement. I feel like
Mhm.
for a good many of us. Listen, as always, we could go on and on and on.
Certainly.
However, I know that you will come back. And I hope that you'll come back maybe next month, or maybe we can make this a once a month thing, just to kind of help keep people on track and keep them encouraged. Because as you stated in the beginning, people start out with the best of intentions, and then lives, and then they get off the wagon. And I
Quickly.
think just having that expert voice to just say, "Hey, it's okay. It's happening to me too. Let's think about it this way." And maybe the next time we'll be able to take some questions from the audience when you come back. But there's probably somebody watching and they're like, Coach Joe, I don't live in Athens and I want to feel comfortable going into my local gym knowing that I'm doing the right thing.
Mhm.
I'm going to share in a little bit Coach Joe's social media. He has a wonderful YouTube channel with lots of videos on it. If you have not subscribed to that, you need to make it a point to do so immediately. But beyond that, how might they be able to partner with you to get programs written for them so that they, even though they don't live in this area with you, because I know you do a lot on nutrition, but you also do exercise plans. Just talk to the people, let them know how they can.
Certainly. The best way, easiest way, hit me in the DMs on my Instagram. You can email me. My email is real simple. It's, even though my all my social media are at Blaney Fit, and that's BLAN3YFIT. My
Mhm.
email address is joe@blaneyfit.com. And so that is an easy way to get in touch with me. I do provide information about nutrition. I try and work with you. Now it does involve work on the behalf of the individual because again, you are the
Mhm.
expert. I don't tell
Mhm.
you what to eat. Um, that's an easy way, but my philosophy about that is if I'm telling you, when I stop telling you, you won't know what to do because again, we have this big picture in mind and I'm giving you stuff, eat chicken, broccoli, and rice, and now you think rice and chicken have some magical properties, and they don't. You have to determine what it is you like to eat, what is going to work for your body, and I can
Mhm.
help you with that. And again, that's designed. Writing those meal plans is designed for people who are high level athletes because they have a specific goal in mind and a specific time frame which wish to accomplish it. And so doing those things is not for the average person, regardless of what you hear, what you see, and what Instagram and all of these ads that you're seeing right now because of the new year are going to tell you. That is for high functioning athletes because it doesn't empower you to do better on your own. But I will partner with anyone and help them to get their diet together. And as you said, on my YouTube channel, I have plenty of videos, and I'm constantly adding more videos to just kind of demonstrate real simple, basic things of how to move your body. Because that is the key. It's not just trying to lift heavy weights. It's not trying to move the weight. It's how do you move your body? Trying to show you the best way to move your body, or the most optimal way to move your body to accomplish what it is that you're trying to accomplish with your exercise. And it doesn't always have to involve weights. And so, yeah, just reach out to me. Again, Instagram, my DMs there, or my email, or even a direct message on Facebook. Those are the best ways to get in touch with me.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for helping us kick off 2023 on this high note. Like right now, I'm supercharged, pumped. So I hope that it has helped everybody in the listening audience. I appreciate you coming on, but you know how we do it before. Got final thoughts before we close this episode out. What is the one thing, one mindset shift that you want to leave with the listening audience when it comes to New Year, New You?
I think is what your show is all about, is habits. It's a mindset shift, creating habits and just starting small. And I think that first element of effective thinking is that earth, and just understand deeply what is going to work and just start where you are. If you get started, then you can continue to build on that and don't become overwhelmed and frustrated. It's like saving money. You save $1 a week. At the end of the year, you got at least 52 more dollars than you had. It may not be a lot, but you think about it. And right now,
habit.
With the price of eggs, $52, that'll probably buy you. So
y'all, Coach Joe needs some eggs because he's talked about eggs twice now. Y'all need to help him out. Get him these eggs.
I spend a lot of money on eggs, man.
Thank you again for joining me. And I'm looking forward to you coming back next month and us chopping it up again. And hopefully maybe we'll be able to take some questions from the comment section and answer and help people to stay on the track that they've already set up this month and keep moving forward. My dad had this saying growing up, inch by inch, life's a cinch, yard by yard, it gets hard. So just taking those goals and those steps inch by inch and partnering with you to help them to get there and beyond. So I look forward to seeing you back here with me next month. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And there you have it. We've come to a close for the first episode of Conversations with Coach of 2023. I hope you have been excited and just got a lot of useful information to help you to just knock out that exercise goal. Again, it truly is about mindset and just getting started, forgiving yourself, and just being committed to what the end result is going to be, and understanding to get that end result, you got to take those small steps to get there. Thank you so much for continuing to follow me on all of my social media platforms. I have now added Twitch, and the Conversations with Coach podcast is actually viewable on Twitch. So if that's that's a platform that you're on, you can follow me there and watch these episodes on Twitch. I keep everything very simple for you all, no matter what social media you go to find me: Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. They're all Christina Mindset Coach. And parents or athletes, if you are that person and you're trying to set up your competition goals for this new year, I need you to visit me on my website, set up that clarity call. Let's partner and figure out how perfectionism might be hindering your performance, how we can increase your confidence and help you to achieve those goals. I appreciate you all so very much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you here, same time, same place. And remember, your life is only as good as your mindset. Make it a great one.
Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Coach. Please be sure to follow Coach Christina on all of her social media platforms. And remember, life is only as good as your mindset.